Welcome to Smart Remarks, where it's bad enough when the government wants to take your guns, but when it's a Kenyan Muslim socialist doing it, that's really an outrage! So, I wasn't going to do another gun thing this week, but it's the topic du jour. Today, January 16th, President Obama is unveiling his gun control proposals, which includes a ban on automatic rifles, assault rifles, high-capacity magazines, universal background checks, and more. The pro-gun right is predictably outraged about this whole thing, and so we face this massive fight going forward. But I wanted to raise a couple issues this week that have kind of flown under the radar as we've been screaming at each other about this these past couple weeks. I've been seeing a lot of stuff from pro-gun folks on the right about how gun registration is the first step towards tyranny. It's the first steps towards confiscation. You should fear a government that wants to know who owns the guns. And I thought, I don't know about that, but don't you find it curious that some of the people who are most concerned about the national security state now were the people who cheered the creation of the national security state in the first place? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that a lot of the people who have been so upset about their Second Amendment rights being abrogated are Republicans, and that many of them during the Bush years were all in favor of more invasive government measures designed to keep us, quote-unquote, safe. Many of these folks sneered at concerns about warrantless wiretapping and other security measures and said that if you didn't have anything to hide, you shouldn't be worried about government scrutiny. I got tons and tons of letters from people like that during the Bush era, and I specifically remember thinking at the time, don't these people realize that at some point the national security state could be turned on them? There's another aspect to this as well. I'm again going to go out on a limb and suggest that many of the people who are most outraged about the supposed loss of their gun rights are some of the biggest supporters of America's military and our wars. They've supported the idea of America as the world's preeminent global superpower, but part of being that power involves the development and use of weapons that are far superior to anything your average homeowner could ever possess. Part of the intent of the Second Amendment was indeed to help citizens fight off a tyrannical government, but when citizens insist upon the need of their government to become all-powerful, they disempower themselves. The guy down the street may harbor fever dreams of fighting off the government with his AR-15, but he has no chance. And finally this week, I want to say that I'm nowhere near as anti-gun as some people seem to think I am. People saying, oh, you're just afraid of guns. Yeah, you'd be surprised. But what I do seek to do here is to push back against the tough guy gun culture. I want responsible gun owners to say, you know what, there is more we can do. I want them to acknowledge the gray areas. You're a responsible gun owner, but maybe you've got a kid with depression. Ultimately, how safe is he? How safe is you? How safe are your neighbors? And yes, society does have a vested interest in this. You're an elderly gun owner beginning to show signs of dementia. Who takes the gun away from you? You can't do that! It's my Second Amendment rights! Well, have you ever known an elderly person who was never violent before but who becomes violent as they begin to suffer the onset of dementia? I have. What about situations like that? In a society where guns are so pervasive and such a big part of the national mindset, situations like this will arise, and legislation can't prevent all of them. So what I want is for responsible gun owners to realize that with rights come a grave responsibility. I want us to stop talking so much about gun rights. I want us to talk more about gun responsibilities. And the moment we do that, you know what? We don't have to scream at each other anymore.